Hey, what is up guys, this is Forever Yuga, and today I have, in my opinion, the best dragon deck currently in the game. This is not my deck. This deck was created by Apps from Discord, so full credit to him. As you can see, this is a 30 cards Arkbrave Dragon grass deck. Now, a lot of people have been trying to make Arkbrave Dragon works ever since White Knight Dragon came out, but I never feels like they're good, or at least they're competitive. And this build is the first one that I feels like it's really good, or at least it's good enough to be used in a competitive settings. Now, usually the core cards of 30 cards Arkbrave Dragon deck we knows. Usually you would want to play triple White Knight, triple Arkbrave, triple Dragon Knight of Creation, triple Paladin, triple grass, double ruins. Yeah, that's it. I think those are like the core cards. Now, what makes me think that this particular build is a lot better than whatever build that I've seen so far is because the tech card that he used synergizes so well with the core cards of the deck. So let's just jump into the deck profile. Starting off with the skill, you have the skill Restart. The main card that you want to see in your opening hand is obviously Grass is Greener. The MVP of the deck. Usually if you open with Grass, the advantage that Grass generates, it's enough to cover the -1 from the Restart. On to the monster lineup. First we have triple White Knight Dragon, one of the big boy that you have in your dragon deck. This card is immune to any spell and traps that target, so that means this card is immune to Treacherous Trap Hole and also immune to enemy controller, Offerings to the Doom, Tribute to the Doom, those kind of stuff. But it feels like these days you probably will only see Econ and also Treacherous Trap Hole as a spell and trap that targets. I mean, immunity to Treacherous is actually really huge because almost any deck that can play Treacherous will play Treacherous, so you will see that card a lot. So that's already huge, this immunity. Plus this card is 3000 beater. 3000 is already bigger than any boss monster in the current meta deck. Mass Hero Anki is 2800, Dyna of the 4 higher is 2500. So that means this deck needs at least another cards to support their big monster in order to get over White Knight Dragon. For example, Anki needs a Forbidden Chalice, which will make Anki become 3200. Dyna requires a Whiz or maybe another Dyna on the field. That will make them, I think, 3100, the Dyna plus beatdown there, 3100. So that also can get over White Knight Dragon. Hazy Manticore can also get over White Knight because Hazy, I think if you have like a full board of level 5 or higher monster, the Manticore will become 3100. So what you notice is that any other deck needs at least 2 cards in order to get over White Knight Dragon in terms of attack. So that's good. Another small utility that you probably don't remember, honestly even I forgot most of the time, is that he has a secondary effect where when another face-up monster that you control is target for an attack, you can send one spell or trap card you control to the graveyard, change the attack target to this card. This is just another small utility that this card has, I guess. But for most of the time, the main thing that this card has going on for himself is that it's huge, it's 3000, plus it's also immune to Econ and also Treacherous. Next we have double Exiled Force. If you notice, without Exiled Force, this deck doesn't have any monster destructions effect. So that means a card that cannot be destroyed by battle, for example like Amazonas Queen, can give this deck quite a bit of a trouble. So that's why Exiled Force is in here. Even if you milled it, it's okay because you can bring it back with Powerful Rebirth. But for the most part, the main target for this card is for the Amazonas matchup. Next you have the one Darkstorm Dragon. It's a Gemini monster. Once per turn you can send one face-up spell and trap you control to the graveyard to destroy all spell and trap cards on the field. Now if you see the deck profile, we have 5 continuous spell and traps at least. You have the double ruins and also triple Powerful Rebirth, and you might think, isn't this card utility kinda limited because you might mill the continuous? To some extent, yeah, but the thing is, ruins can always came back to your hand, so it's not as limited as you might think. Next you have the triple Arkbrave Dragon. This card wrecked quite a lot of decks. I mean, for me personally, I faced this deck when I was using Noble Knights, so when this card came out, it's like GG. Because this card can just banish every single face-up spell and traps that your opponent controls. So that means SSA will be gone, Noble Knights, the Noble Arms will be gone. What else? Onslaught, Amazonas Onslaught will be gone. Those kind of good stuff. But aside from the banishing effect, the other main effect that you will see most likely proc is obviously the one where if this card is sent from the graveyard last turn on the next standby phase, you can target one level 7 or 8 dragon type monster in your graveyard and special summon it except himself. So obviously you will use Arkbrave to special summon the other big dragons like Darkstorm and also White Knight. But Arkbrave Dragon can be special summoned also by using the triple Dragon Knight of the Creation and also the triple Paladin of Felgrand. The main function of Dragon Knight of Creations in here is obviously its secondary effects, where you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one level 7 or 8 Dragon type monster in your graveyard, and then you also send this card to the graveyard to special summon that. So essentially you give up 2 cards in order to bring back one big dragon. So you can bring any dragon. For example, you can bring back Arkbrave, and if that Arkbrave dies, the Arkbrave will bring back something else in that sense, right? But the other MVP of this deck is obviously Paladin of Felgrand, because Paladin you can directly equip one Arkbrave. Usually you would want Arkbrave as soon as possible on the graveyard. So this card's another effect is that you can tribute one monster and this card and then target one level 7 or 8 dragon type monster in your graveyard and then special summon it. So that means if this card has a Arkbrave equipped and then you use its effect to bring back something else, so that means that Arkbrave that was equipped was being sent to the graveyard. So that means during the next standby phase, usually it should be during your opponent's standby phase, the Arkbrave will proc and will bring back one big dragon monster if you have any targets still in the grave. Paladin of Felgrand is definitely, feels like another MVP of the deck aside from Grass. So we did skip Card Trooper. Card Trooper is basically just a 4th Grass, it feels like. A 4th Grass that can be brought back by Powerful Rebirth if you needed it, and also it gives you one card, I guess, if it dies by battle. So there's that. And also the main card of the deck is the triple Grass of Greener. You definitely want to open with this. Next you have the triple double Cyclone. This deck can lose quite a bit to Wall of Disruptions. I guess that's why apps play quite a bit of a back row hate cards, but it's also very fitting for the current meta because the majority of the meta decks have back rows. For Hire play back rows, Spellbook play back rows, Mass Hero have back rows, Amazon is full of back rows. The only meta deck that doesn't have back rows are Hazy, but Hazy is like so rare you don't even need to worry about it. So but Double Cyclone in this deck has also another utility. For example, if you equipped Arkbrave with Paladin, you can just pop the Arkbrave that was equipped and your opponent's spell and traps, and then Arkbrave will bring back your big boy next turn. So that is one utility Double Cyclone has with the core cards of the deck. Another thing is obviously something like Powerful Rebirth is a bonus. Like Powerful Rebirth, when you used it to special summon a monster, the Powerful Rebirth itself is a bonus, so you can use it for Double Cyclone, for example. So next we have the double Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lords. This card is really good. It has like 3 effects in total, so it creates like a lot of utility. Imagine 3 effects just in one card. That's crazy. So the first effect is if a monster is special summoned except from the graveyard, while you control a level 7 or 8 dragon type monster, that face up special summon monsters has its effect negated until the end of this turn, even if this card is left the field. So thing to note is that this first effect is not once per turn. So that means if somehow your opponent like special summon 3 monster in one turn, all of those monsters that was special summoned in that turn will has its effect negated. But do note that this negation creates chain link. So If you does not know how the interactions will be, the Yu-Gi-Oh term is called Seigok. Seigok stands for simultaneous effects goes on chain. So the interactions will depend on whether the summon monster's effect is mandatory or not. So imagine a scenario where you have a Ruins face up on the field and Arkbrave, for example, and it is your opponent's turn. According to Seigok, the chain link starts from turn player's mandatory effect, and then pass to non-turn player's mandatory effect, and then turn player's optional effect, and then non-turn player's optional effect. So turn player in this scenario is obviously your opponent, non-turn player is you. So if your opponent summon a monster on their turn with a mandatory effect, that monster's effect will be a chain link 1, and then Ruins will be chain link 2, because if you remember, the order goes first is turn player's mandatory effect and then non-turn player's mandatory effect. Ruins is a mandatory effect, so that means if your opponents, for example, special summon a Vision Hero Trinity. Vision Hero Trinity says during the turn this card will special summon, its attack is double its original attack. This effect is mandatory. So according to Seigok, Vision Hero Trinity will form chain link 1, and then the Ruins will form a chain link 2, and then during the resolution we'll go backwards. Ruins will negate Trinity. So that means if Ruins face up on the field, your opponent's Trinity will always become 2500. It won't get its double effects. But if your opponent's monster has an optional effect, if you imagine your opponent summon BLS Envoy of the Evening Twilight, right? BLS Envoy of the Evening Twilight says when this card is special summoned, you can activate the appropriate effects. So that means this card is a optional effect. And if you track back to the Seigok rule, first you have turn player mandatory, non-turn player mandatory, which is Ruins, and then third you have turn player's optionals effect. So that means Ruins will be chain link 1, BLS will be chain link 2. So that means BLS effects will go through, and also Ruins will negate it after that. So this has become quite a bit of a problem, especially when you consider for hire. Dyna can banish cards from your graveyard, and your deck really relies on graveyard, and Ruins doesn't really prevent Dyna from activating its effect. It will negate Dyna after its effect resolves. So Ruins doesn't really help against Dyna in that sense, because Dyna is an optional effect. So this is what you need to keep in mind when you are playing Ruins. So on to the second effect of this card. Once per turn you can send one other face-up card you control to the graveyard, and then special summon a token. So for example, you can send a powerful rebirth or also an equipped dragon that was equipped from Paladin to the graveyard, and then from the token you can use Paladin's effect to tribute both Paladin and also the token to bring back big dragons. So this is one utility this card has. The third one is if this card is in your graveyard, you can send one level 7 or 8 dragon type monster from your hand or face up on your field to the graveyard, and then add this card from your hand. So basically this card can always came back to your hand as long as you have a big dragon as a fodder. So this is a good way to pitch your dragon into the graveyard. So those are like quite a lot of utilities just from this one card. It's crazy. So this is definitely one of the best cards in the deck for sure. Right, so next you have triple Paleozoic Canadia and also triple powerful Rebirth. Canadia is quite obvious, the best trap cards currently in the game. It's so good against the majority of the meta deck. The only deck that is not that good is probably Hazy again. But yeah, Canadia plus Rebirth plus Paladin has really great synergy. For example, you can flip Canadia and then during the end phase of your opponent's turn, for example, you can flip Rebirth and then chain Canadia to it. Rebirth can bring back a Paladin, and then you can use Canadia plus Paladin to bring back a dragon, for example. And then during your opponent's next turn, you will have 2 big dragon at least if you did equip Paladin with Arkbrave and you have another big dragon in the grave as a target, I guess. So that is one great synergy between Canadian Rebirth and Paladin. Now Powerful Rebirth is also, I feels like it should be like a in a standard build already for this, because it just gives so much utility to this deck as well. You can bring back Card Trooper, you can bring back a Dragon Knight of Creation if you needed it, but I think mostly you will bring back Paladin. And once you bring back a monster Powerful Rebirth, you can use Powerful Rebirth as a fodder for Darkstorm, you can use it as a fodder for Double Cyclone, you can use it as a fodder for Ruins for its second effect. So that was the deck profile. It's quite lengthy, but so many things need to be explained. So next I'll show you guys the duel replays provided by apps. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy.
void is like space. Now space contains everything. The mountains, the oceans, the stars, the good people and the bad people, the plants, the animals, everything. Now the mind in us, the true mind, is like that. You will find that when Buddhists use the word mind, they have several words for mind, but I'm not going into the technicality of that. They mean space. See, space is your mind. Space is your mind.